My name is Chris Fulton, and I'm a Senior Solution Consultant with ServiceNow. And in this video series, I'm going to introduce you to the ServiceNow Service Portal. And then we'll walk through the different parts of the interface. We'll talk about how to use the Service Portal. Then we'll get into things like how do you brand an existing Service Portal, changing the logo, the colors, and so forth. Once we've done that, we'll get into how to create new content pages using the existing widgets. And there's a handful of widgets that are very common, so we'll walk through some of those and work with them. And then finally, we'll talk about how do you create your own widgets so you can provide custom content within your Service Portal. The first thing to talk about, however, is what is a Service Portal and why do you care about it? Traditionally within ServiceNow, when customers want to provide an end-user self-service portal, they leverage what's called the Content Management System, or CMS. CMS is very mature. It's been around for a number of years in ServiceNow, and it's the framework that allows you to create reusable content such as headers, footers, content pages, and so forth that deliver the self-service portal experience to the end user. From an end user perspective, they can go in and make a request such as, I need help with my laptop, or I want to purchase a new mouse, or maybe they need to talk with the help desk so they could use the chat feature, or even search for self-help articles using the knowledge base within ServiceNow. The Service Portal is the next evolution within ServiceNow that is an alternative to CMS, but not a direct replacement as of yet. Service Portal, as I mentioned, is a new technology, and it's based on things like Angular and Bootstrap. So there's a number of capabilities that will be much easier as you move to the Service Portal. But CMS is very mature, so not 100% of the capabilities that are in CMS today are delivered within the Service Portal yet. But by the end of this series, you'll be creating a widget, and you'll see how if there's any functionality in CMS that you feel like is missing in Service Portal, you could just create a widget to perform those functions, and it would be very easy to migrate forward then. CMS is not going away. It'll continue to be supported in future releases, but the Service Portal, this is the first release of it within Helsinki. It was available in Geneva as a preview, but there was no editor, so you really couldn't create your own content. There's really three audiences that we'll talk about as we talk about who can use the Service Portal editor to work with this content. You can be a no-coder, a low-coder, or a pro-coder. It really doesn't matter your level of expertise when we talk about getting into HTML or working with Angular. There's a place for you within the Service Portal. The Service Portal, being built on the framework of Angular and Bootstrap, allow us to do some really cool things such as be responsive across multiple devices. So you could build for the desktop, but as it's resized down to the laptop or the tablet or cell phone, you'll see that the page will be responsive to that. And that's just a byproduct of using those frameworks. Once you understand the basics, it's really easy to use because there's such a great amount of reusable content we call widgets. There's over 100 that are delivered with Helsinki today. There'll be more in the next release. And there's even more on our ServiceNow share site. So if you create a widget and you want to share it, or if you want to see what others are sharing, just go to share.servicenow.com and you'll be able to upload or download widgets and use those within your Service Portal. As I mentioned, regardless of your skill set, there's a place for you within the Service Portal. So if you're a no-coder, someone who really doesn't want to get in and touch any HTML, that's fine. You can go in and still through the editor, you can brand existing service portals. You can create new content pages by using the existing widgets and just configuring those. And you can go grab other widgets that are available on Share or from other sources, pull them into your instance, and leverage those within your own pages. If you're a low coder, maybe you understand HTML and CSS, but you're not really into Angular and Bootstrap, that's great as well because you have a great role within Service Portal. There's a lot of things you can do within Service Portal, such as you can take existing widgets that may be hard-coded in their format or in their style and modify that. You can either make that so they appear as options within the Service Portal, or you can just change them for your own needs But again, all that's needed is just a little bit of HTML and cascading style sheet knowledge, and you can be a low coder within there. With a little bit more effort, you can create your own forms, which operate a lot like the record producers within ServiceNow, and we'll walk through that as one of our last in this series. The last piece is the pro coder. This is the person that understands Angular and Bootstrap and has experience with both of those. Once you get to that level, you can do widget-to-widget communications. You can create some more complex widgets using the ServiceNow data and even integrate with third-party sources. So think of this as where you can create widgets that do a mashup of maybe data from a third-party monitoring tool, Yahoo Finance, and the ServiceNow instance, all within one portal page, but using 3 different widgets. That's the type of content that you can deliver once you get to the pro coder stage. It's also important to note that there are roles required. So to work in the ServicePortal editor, you do have to have the SP_admin role. We will further break these out in future releases, but that's the role that's required within Helsinki. So now that we've talked about a brief demo of what it is and what are some of the capabilities of ServicePortal, let's jump into the actual instance and start working with ServicePortal. Okay, so now we're in my instance of ServiceNow. I'm logged in as myself, and I have the SP_admin role. To get to the ServicePortal in your instance, you can just go to your filter navigator and type in ServicePortal. In my case, I've actually just saved this as a favorite so I can get to it quickly. If you're not able to find the ServicePortal menu entry, one of 2 things that you need to check are that you have the appropriate role, SP_admin, and that also you have the plugin enabled in the instance that you're working in. So once you're in the ServicePortal, I want to walk you through a couple highlights. We'll get into details on some of these other items in subsequent videos, but in this introduction, I want to walk through 3 key pieces. The first is to show you the usage overview. The usage overview is an included dashboard out of the box. It's a real-time indication of how users are accessing and interacting with the ServicePortal. You can see on the left there's ServicePortal page popularity, search terms on the right. There's additional details as we scroll down about catalog views and knowledge base articles. And the idea is to provide you with as much information as you can about the user interaction so you can make choices about how to redesign and make it a better experience for the end user. Just one example of how you might do that is if I was looking at this page popularity and I saw some pages that were on the upper end of popularity, the bar would be very high. I may want to look at those and see how deep into the site they are. If they're 3, 4, 5 level deep and users are having to click several times to get to those, I may want to expose a link to those or move those up in the hierarchy so they're easier to navigate to. That's just one example. There's many other examples of how you'd use this for continual process improvement for the end user experience. But I wanted to point out that this is available as part of the ServicePortal to help you get started. So now we're going to look at the out-of-the-box ServicePortal. And when I clicked on ServicePortal Home, this takes me to that ServicePortal page. So I'm looking at this and I can see that it's got a pretty good layout. In fact, this is, as I mentioned before, a responsive page, so it works just as well on a mobile device as it would an iPad or my web browser within my laptop. Across the top, we have a header. The header has a logo, it has some menu items and so forth. In fact, you'll find out later in this series that the header is just a widget that's placed on a page, so you can create your own header by creating a new widget, and we'll talk about that later in the series. This center section where it says, how can we help? That's also a widget. The whole width of the page, that whole section, is one widget with some options. You'll see as we go into the branding editor in the next video, we can change this text, the background, and so forth. So it makes it very easy to configure your ServicePortal rather than building one from scratch if you want to leverage the theme that we include out of the box. These next 4 icons across here, order something, get help, knowledge, and community, those are 4 separate icon instances or excuse me, widget instances, but they're all the same widget. So we'll see as we get into modifying this page, this is the same widget used 4 times, and the only thing that's different is the configuration for each instance of that widget. Scrolling down, you'll see some lists of details, and as you might have guessed already, those are just widgets as well that we've dragged and dropped onto this form and configured them to show the appropriate content. So that's it for now on this page. Let me show you one more item before we close out this video, and that is the ServicePortal configuration. The ServicePortal configuration page has many options to allow you to get started in working with your portals and or widgets. The first item is the branding editor. This is where I can go in and very quickly take that service portal that I just looked at a moment ago and apply a new logo, theme colors, and so forth to make it my own. So what's provided out of the box is an example, but of course you're going to want to make it look and feel like your corporate standard, so the branding editor will allow you to do that. The designer is where you're going to spend most of your time as you're creating new pages, as you're changing the layout of existing pages, and putting those into different service portals. We'll spend a lot of time here in probably 2 videos from now. The page editor, its name is a little confusing because it's not where I'm going to go drag and drop things onto a page and design a page. It actually is where I'm going to configure properties about a page and some other various options that we'll look at. For page design and configuration, again, that's here in the designer, and you'll see that as we move forward. The widget editor, as its name implies, is where I'm going to create new widgets from scratch or pull up existing widgets and make modifications to them. It's important to note that any widget included from ServiceNow as part of the platform is not editable. They're read-only. So before you edit one of those widgets, you'll need to make a copy first, and then you can work on the copy and make changes. And of course, last is the Get Help option. So this is where you can browse some tutorials and videos that'll help you work with the Service Portal Designer and the widget editor and understand how to use that. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and please continue with the video series to get more details on the other items discussed in this video.